Evolution is, the grand story of how life changes over time. It explains why a giraffe has a long neck and why a fish has gills. We can often understand why certain features or traits appear in the animal kingdom. These traits usually help a species survive or reproduce in its environment. A sharp beak helps a bird crack open seeds. Strong legs help a cheetah run fast to catch its prey. This process of natural selection favors traits that provide a clear advantage, but sometimes evolution leaves behind a puzzle, a feature whose purpose is not at all obvious. One of the most fascinating and persistent of these puzzles is found right on our own faces, the human chin. The chin is the bony bump that juts out from the bottom of our lower jaw. You can feel it right now. It seems like such a normal part of the human face that we rarely stop to think about it. Yet, this simple feature presents a profound mystery to scientists who study human origins. Why do we have it? What purpose does it serve? For most other parts of our body, we can find a reasonable explanation rooted in their function. Our opposable thumbs help us grip tools. Our large brains allow for complex thought and language, but the chin stands apart, a silent question mark at the very bottom of our skulls. This feature is not just a minor detail, it is a defining characteristic of our species. When paleoanthropologists dig up ancient bones, the presence of a true projecting chin is one of the clearest signs that they have found a modern human. It separates us from our ancient ancestors and our closest extinct relatives. Understanding the chin is not just about solving a small biological riddle. It is about understanding the specific evolutionary path that made us who we are today. The story of the chin is, in many ways, a story about the subtle and sometimes baffling forces that shaped modern humanity. As we explore this topic, we will look at why the chin is so special and why it is so difficult to explain. We will examine the different ideas that scientists have proposed over the years, from ideas about strength and chewing to theories about social signaling. We will also contrast this mystery with another evolutionary story, one that has been solved, to see why some questions in biology are easier to answer than others. The journey to understand the chin reveals just as much about the process of science as it does about our own evolution, highlighting that some aspects of our past remain tantalizingly out of reach. When we say the chin is unique, the statement is quite literal and remarkable. Among all the mammals on Earth, from the smallest mouse to the largest blue whale, only modern humans possess a chin. No other primate, not chimpanzees, not gorillas, nor any other ape, has this bony prominence at the front of its mandible or lower jaw. Their lower jaws simply slope backward from the base of their teeth. This uniqueness is what makes the chin a true evolutionary novelty. It appeared at a specific point in our lineage and has been with our species ever since, a badge of anatomical modernity that we all share. This exclusivity extends even to our closest relatives in the human family tree. The famous Neanderthals, or were a sister species to our own, living in Europe and Asia for hundreds of thousands of years. They were incredibly similar to us in many ways. They had large brains, used complex tools, controlled fire, and likely had some form of culture. Yet if you look at a Neanderthal skull, one of the most striking differences is the complete absence of a chin. Their lower jaw recedes directly from the tooth line, a feature described as a mental eminence being absent, creating a very different facial profile from that of a modern human. The fact that Neanderthals lacked a chin is particularly significant. They shared a common ancestor with us and occupied a similar ecological niche as intelligent tool-using hominins. They even cooked their food, a behavior some have linked to changes in jaw structure. Yet the evolutionary path that led to included the development of a chin, while the path that led to Neanderthals did not. This divergence makes the chin a key diagnostic feature separating us. The difference in facial structure between any two modern humans living today is far less than the difference between an average modern human and a Neanderthal. This makes the chin a lonely feature in the grand museum of life. Its story cannot be told by looking at other animals for clues. It's a chapter written only for our species. Why did this trait arise only in us? Did it provide a specific survival advantage that no other animal, including our closest relatives, needed? Or is its existence merely an accident of our evolutionary journey? These questions are at the heart of the chin mystery, a puzzle that begins with the simple observation that this piece of our anatomy is exclusively and curiously human. In evolutionary biology, one of the most powerful tools for understanding why a trait exists is a method called convergent evolution. This is when different unrelated species independently evolve the same feature because they face similar environmental pressures or lifestyles. For instance, both birds and bats evolved wings for flight, but their last common ancestor did not have wings. Similarly, sharks, which are fish, and dolphins, which are mammals, both evolved streamlined bodies and fins for moving efficiently through water. By studying these parallel cases, scientists can form strong hypotheses about a trait's function. If flight evolved multiple times, it must be a very good solution for moving through the air. The human chin, however, presents a major roadblock for this type of analysis because it is a feature unique to. There are no other species to compare it with. We cannot look at another mammal that independently evolved a chin and ask what problem this feature solved for them. This complete lack of convergent examples means that all the theories about the chin's purpose are much harder to test. We are left with a single data point, us. This forces scientists to rely on more indirect evidence like biomechanical models of the human jaw or subtle clues from the fossil record of our direct ancestors. This isolation from comparative anatomy makes the chin an outlier in evolutionary studies. For many other human traits, we can find parallels elsewhere in the animal kingdom that help us understand their function. For example, we can study bipedalism, walking on two legs, by looking at how other animals, like birds, move. While our form of walking is unique, the general principle of two-legged locomotion is not. The chin, however, has no such parallel. It is an evolutionary solo performance, which makes it incredibly difficult to determine the why behind its existence. Every theory remains just that, a plausible story without the strong comparative evidence needed to confirm it. Without the tool of convergent evolution, the debate over the chin's origin has been running for over a century with no clear winner. Scientists are left to propose ideas that seem logical but are difficult to prove or disprove definitively. It is like trying to understand the purpose of a single unique tool found in an ancient workshop with no instructions and no other similar tools anywhere in the world. You can guess what it might have been used for, but you can never be entirely certain. This is the fundamental challenge of the human chin. Its uniqueness is what makes it so interesting, but it is also what keeps it a mystery. One of the longest-standing theories about why humans have a chin is that it evolved to strengthen our lower jaw. The human jaw is relatively small and delicate compared to those of our earlier ancestors. Proponents of this idea suggest that the chin acts like a buttress, a reinforcing structure that helps the mandible withstand the mechanical stresses of chewing. When we eat, especially tough or hard foods, our jaw experiences a complex set of forces. The chin, according to this hypothesis, might be a clever piece of natural engineering that helps to distribute those forces and prevent the jaw from breaking. This idea seems plausible at first glance. The lower jaw is made of two halves that fuse together at the front during early childhood. The chin is located right at this midline seam, a potential weak point. Perhaps the chin evolved to reinforce this area as our faces and jaws became smaller over evolutionary time. Some researchers have created computer models to simulate the stresses on the jaw during chewing. They found that a chin can, in some circumstances, help to reduce strain. This suggests that there could be a mechanical benefit to having this bony protuberance. However, this theory has faced significant challenges. When scientists look closely at the biomechanics, they find that the chin is not actually located in the area of highest stress. The greatest forces during chewing occur further back in the jaw, near the molars. A structure designed to make the jaw stronger would be more effective if it were located there. Furthermore, many other primates, including gorillas, have much more powerful jaws and eat tougher foods than humans, yet they manage perfectly well without a chin. This suggests that a chin is not a necessary component for a strong jaw. Most damningly, our own evolutionary history seems to contradict this idea. The trend in recent human evolution has been toward a smaller face and jaw, a process often linked to the invention of cooking and the consumption of softer foods. These changes would have reduced, not increased, the mechanical stress on our jaws. If the forces on our jaw were decreasing, why would we suddenly need a new feature to strengthen it? This contradiction has led many scientists to conclude that the chin did not evolve as a mechanical buttress for chewing, forcing them to look for other possible explanations. If the chin does not have a mechanical function related to chewing, perhaps its purpose is social. In the animal kingdom, many features evolve not for survival, but to help an individual attract a mate. This process is called sexual selection. The magnificent tail of a peacock, for example, does not help it find food or escape predators. In fact, it is a hindrance. Instead, it serves as an advertisement to peahens, signaling the male's health and genetic quality. Some researchers have proposed that the human chin might be a product of sexual selection, a feature that our ancestors found attractive in a partner. How could a chin be a signal of attractiveness? A prominent chin contributes to the shape of the face, and in many cultures, a strong jawline is associated with masculinity and dominance in men. It is possible that the chin evolved as an honest signal of hormonal health or fitness. For example, the development of bone structures in the face is influenced by hormones like testosterone. A well-developed chin could have served as a visual cue that a male was strong and healthy, making him a more desirable mate. Over many generations, a preference for mates with more prominent chins could have driven the evolution of this trait. Another variation of this theory suggests the chin's primary role was not to be attractive on its own, but to support another feature, the beard. Beards are a secondary sexual characteristic in human males. A chin provides a forward-jutting scaffold that makes a beard appear larger and more impressive. In this view, the chin itself may not have been the direct target of selection. Instead, selection for impressive beards might have indirectly favored the underlying bone structure that supported them. This would make the chin a secondary consequence of selection for a different, more visible trait. However, like the jaw-strengthening theory, the sexual selection hypothesis has its weaknesses. The most significant issue is that both men and women have chins. While there are average differences in size and shape, the feature is present in everyone. Sexually selected traits are often dimorphic, meaning they are much more pronounced in one sex than the other, like a lion's mane or a peacock's tail. The fact that women also have chins complicates the idea that it evolved purely as a signal of male fitness. While not impossible, it makes the sexual selection argument less straightforward than in other species. Section 6. The byproduct hypothesis, an accidental feature. Faced with the weaknesses of functional theories, many scientists now favor a different explanation. This is the idea that the chin is not an adaptation at all. Instead, it may be a non-adaptive byproduct, an accidental consequence of other changes happening to the human skull. According to this hypothesis, the chin does not have a purpose. It is simply what was left over after our faces evolved to be smaller and flatter. This explanation has become one of the leading ideas in the field as it elegantly sidesteps the need to find a specific function for the chin. The story begins with the shrinking of the human face over the last few 100,000 years. Compared to earlier hominins like Neanderthals, the face of Homo sapiens is much more delicate and retracted under the brain case. Neanderthals had a protruding midface with large noses and heavy brow ridges. Our faces, in contrast, pulled back. Scientists believe this facial reduction could be linked to several factors, including changes in diet, the use of more advanced tools that replace the need for using teeth as tools, and perhaps even a reduction in aggression and testosterone levels as humans began living in larger, more cooperative social groups. As the upper part of the jaw and the tooth row retreated backward, the lower part of the mandible did not shrink at the same rate or in the same way. The bottom part of the jaw, a bony shelf known as the symphysis, was essentially left behind. This created a bony prominence sticking out at the front, the chin. In this scenario, the chin is not something that grew outward, it is what remained when the rest of the face moved inward. It is an architectural relic, like an exposed foundation stone after a building's wall has been moved. This spandrel theory, named after an architectural term for a space left over between other structures, is appealing because it does not require the chin to do anything. Its existence is explained by the geometry of facial evolution. Recent research, such as the work being done at Binghamton University comparing the jaw mechanics of humans and Neanderthals, lend support to this idea. By analyzing how the different parts of the face and jaw fit together, scientists can model how these evolutionary changes could have resulted in the chin's formation. It suggests our unique chin might just be an accident of our evolutionary history. Section 7. A tale of two traits. The contrasting case of testicle size. To understand why the chin is such a stubborn mystery, it is helpful to look at another evolutionary puzzle that scientists have been able to solve: the variation in testicle size among mammals. At first, this might seem like a completely unrelated topic, but it provides a perfect example of how convergent evolution can provide clear answers. Across the primate order and beyond, there is a huge range in the size of testes relative to body weight. For a long time, the reason for this variation was unclear. However, by comparing many different species, a distinct and powerful pattern emerged. The key insight was connecting testicle size to the mating system of a species. Scientists found a consistent correlation: species where females are promiscuous, meaning they mate with multiple males, tend to have very large testicles. This is because when multiple males mate with the same female, their sperm must compete to fertilize the egg. This is called sperm competition. In this scenario, producing a larger volume of sperm provides a significant reproductive advantage, and natural selection favors larger testes. Chimpanzees and bonobos, who live in highly promiscuous societies, are prime examples of this, possessing very large testicles for their body size. In contrast, species where a single male has exclusive mating access to one or more females tend to have very small testicles. A gorilla, for example, lives in a harem where one dominant silverback male is typically the only one who mates with the females in his group. Because there is no sperm competition, there is no evolutionary pressure to produce large quantities of sperm, and their testicles are consequently very small relative to their massive bodies. The same pattern holds true for other animals, from colobus monkeys to bonnet macaques and even dolphins, which have enormous testes due to their mass mating events. This powerful pattern, observed independently in many different lineages, is a classic case of convergent evolution solving a biological puzzle. It allows us to place humans on this spectrum. Relative to our body weight, human testicles are about 3 times the size of a gorilla's, but only 1/5 the size of a chimpanzee's. This intermediate size suggests that our evolutionary history was not one of complete monogamy or extreme promiscuity, but something in between. The mystery was solved not by studying one species, but by comparing many. This is the very tool that is unavailable for studying the chin. Section 8. Lessons from Convergent Evolution. The story of testicle size provides a powerful lesson in scientific investigation. It demonstrates how comparing different species can illuminate the function of a trait. When the same solution, such as large testes, evolves over and over again in response to the same problem, sperm competition, it gives scientists great confidence in their conclusions. This comparative method is a cornerstone of modern evolutionary biology. It allows us to see the patterns of nature and understand the rules that govern how life adapts and changes. We can see this principle at work in countless other examples, from the evolution of eyes to the development of venom. This method works because evolution often finds similar answers to similar challenges. The laws of physics and the demands of survival are consistent across the globe. If an animal needs to move through water, a streamlined body will always be more efficient than a blocky one. If a plant lives in a desert, it will benefit from features that help it store water and reduce evaporation. By identifying these recurring themes, we can deduce the why behind a trait's existence. The power of this approach lies in its ability to test hypotheses across a wide range of independent data points, making the conclusions far more robust. The human chin, standing alone, is immune to this powerful analytical tool. We have no other chin-bearing creatures to compare ourselves to. We cannot test if chins always evolve in species with a certain diet, social structure, or method of communication. This is what separates the chin from traits like testicle size, bipedalism, or even brain size, where we can find at least some parallels in other animals to guide our thinking. The chin is an evolutionary orphan, and its story must be pieced together from the limited and often ambiguous clues left behind in our own fossil record and anatomy. This contrast highlights the different kinds of questions in evolutionary biology. Some questions have answers that are waiting to be found in the diversity of life around us. Other questions, like that of the chin, may be fundamentally harder to resolve. They may depend on a unique sequence of historical accidents and evolutionary trade-offs that happened only once. It forces us to use different methods, relying more on biomechanical modeling and developmental genetics to explore the possibilities. The chin reminds us that science is not always about finding a neat and tidy function for everything. Sometimes it is about reconstructing a unique historical narrative. Section 9. The enduring enigma of our own anatomy. The human chin remains one of the most intriguing and unresolved puzzles in our own evolutionary story. After more than a century of debate, we still lack a definitive answer as to why we have this feature and our closest relatives do not. The theories we have explored, from strengthening the jaw to acting as a sexual signal to being an accidental byproduct of facial shrinking, all have their own merits and flaws. None has yet emerged as the clear and undisputed explanation. The chin continues to challenge our understanding of how evolution works and what it means to be human. The leading contender at present is the byproduct hypothesis. This idea that the chin is simply a geometric consequence of our shrinking face is elegant in its simplicity. It suggests that not every trait needs a grand purpose or a dramatic story of adaptation. Sometimes features can just be leftovers, evolutionary spandrels created by other more significant changes. This perspective offers a dose of humility, reminding us that our bodies are not perfectly engineered machines, but are instead patchworks of history, adaptation, and pure chance. Our anatomy is a testament to a messy and contingent evolutionary journey. Ongoing research continues to probe this mystery. Scientists like Brian Keeling are using advanced imaging and modeling techniques to compare the jaws of Homo sapiens and Neanderthals in unprecedented detail. This work may provide new insights into the biomechanical forces and developmental pathways that led to our unique facial structure. By understanding precisely how our faces changed relative to our extinct cousins, we may get closer to understanding whether the chin was a deliberate construction of natural selection or an accidental result of our evolving anatomy. Every new fossil and every new analytical method offers a chance to shed more light on this old question. Ultimately, the mystery of the chin highlights a fascinating aspect of science. It shows that even in an age of incredible technological and genetic discovery, some fundamental questions about our own bodies remain unanswered. The human chin is a constant reminder that we are still deciphering the story of our origins. It is a humble and bony prominence that forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge and to appreciate the complex and sometimes random path that evolution took to create the face that we see in the mirror every day. The chin is a mystery, but it is our mystery.